Devon Van Noble, and it's Van Noble Farm. Very simple.
Love it. And where are you located?
It's Trumansburg, New York, and we're in the Finger Lakes, and sell most of our stuff through Trumansburg and Ithaca, New York.
What do you sell?
We sell pasture-raised pork, raised on non-GMO feeds, and we provide it through catering events and festivals, and now a new line of butchered products that are all packaged, and we have delicious bacon and sausage and stuff like that.
I can vouch for that. Pretty delicious.
Oh yeah, you had the pulled pork, right?
It was so good.
Good.
I ate it for like days.
Great.
Everybody really enjoyed it. How long have you been in business?
2012, we started with 13 sows and a boar, and started with all breeding stock, and then raised up our herd from there, and started by just wholesaling live animals to the piggery, and once that contract ended after about 5 years, switched over to becoming all direct market retail. So
Cool. How was that transition?
it was tough. There was a year or two where I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, and had to kind of like reinvent myself and the business to a degree in terms of the pig roasts. We had started casually doing pig roasts on the side, and then it became like the forefront of the business, and catering became the moneymaker. So between 2017 and 18, we kind of moved from selling hundreds of pigs a year to just around maybe marketing about 120 pigs a year, which was much smaller for us. And it was all through weddings and festivals and stuff like that originally. And then this year is the first year we obviously had to stop doing the weddings and festivals, and move to this butchered kind of packaged products.
Okay, so you are used to being flexible and changing your business model.
Yeah.
More than once?
Yeah. No,
Obviously.
it's felt like several iterations, and I think we're finally sticking with what we've got, which is a little mix of the catering. The wedding business is very strong in a normal year, and the packaged products we're hoping continue to kind of grow. So yeah, that's where I'm hoping to land, and then we might add on some other enterprises down the road, but right now those are the sticking points.
Okay. Do you feel like having to change has made the business stronger, or has it been just pure challenge?
No, it's made us stronger. I mean, thankfully, I would say my version of growth was reined in. So I didn't get compelled to like grow really big or really fast or become like the next big operation in town, and that I think has led to sustainability. So I didn't like take on a huge payroll or huge building investments or debt. Certainly there's a lot of privilege wrapped up in that, in terms of not having to take on too much debt, but yeah, I managed to keep things small, and I knew after I was not wholesaling anymore that I didn't want to struggle to maintain that production size that I was, and it was going to be a lot more feasible lifestyle to minimize the number of pigs. Having 50 or 60 pigs is nothing in compared to what we used to have over 200 pigs at a time.
Wow.
And it was constant stress and constant uncertainty, and are we going to be able to pay the feed bill next month and all this stuff. So it feels like some of those decisions to keep things small have actually like led to the ability to maintain the business.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
it's great. Thanks for talking about scale. What would be, along those lines, what would be your advice to somebody who's starting out, who might be taking on debt and is sort of trying to scale really fast?
Don't be scared of debt. There's healthy debt, and working with the FSA and a business loan program that is like going to be careful for their own sake, but also for your sake, in the sense that they're going to analyze your business plan and analyze your finances to make sure that you're going to be be able to make the repayment. That seems it's necessary, and it's healthy, and So, and it also can help you to strategize and plan effectively. So it's not to be scared of any debt. I certainly had to take on FSA loans, and I've had credit card debt. I still have credit card debt that I have to use to manage the finances over the years. So, but you got to be very, very careful of not, as I said, getting too big too fast and taking on more than you can swallow. But yeah, debt is strategic. Yeah, when you look at it correctly.
This is your main.
Yeah, these are like all the market pigs that are growing up, ready to go to slaughter in a few months.
What kind of pigs are they?
The black coloration is from mulefoot genes. So they're all crosses, but mulefoot is a heritage breed that's got a lot of good meat quality, and so we tend to stick with that on one side, but we always like cross it to another breed. And so there's like Duroc mulefoot crosses. And yeah.
Cool.
What else do you raise on the farm?
Just well, we did some veggies this year at scale over here for my first time. Just did like pumpkins and melons, and what else did we do? Some peppers and collards, but just very like first year I had it tilled up, and got all this cover crop for next year, so we're gonna be doing a little more veg and expanding, but yeah, it's all for just donation.
Okay.
So
How did the vegetables go?
They were, yeah, actually pretty well. I am excited to do more actual food crops rather than like carving pumpkins and stuff. That was kind of a way to just minimize the maintenance and the workload and everything this year, but it was good. I would like somebody else to be coming out here and doing their own enterprise or managing the veggies, because it's not my expertise, but it's just a lot of extra work, and I've got plenty going on. So yeah, the goal is to have this field of oats here turn into the veggie plot next year. We'll have our sunflowers over here that we did this year in the back plot where the rye vetch is, and then I'll cover crop that fallow field for the rest of the next summer. So we'll probably have like a half or 3/4 of an acre in production.
Nice.
Yeah.
Your sunflowers were gorgeous this summer.
Yeah. My story is I'm from Florida originally, and grew up as a suburban kind of beach goer, fishing boy, and out on the Gulf of Mexico a lot, and in Tampa Bay. And at 18 years old, was lucky to have tried Cornell out and came up for school here, and found myself kind of settling into the style of the people and the culture, and slowly found my way towards what I thought was going to be my career as agricultural policy. Was thinking I wanted to, either on an international or national scale, kind of be in the formations of what the future policies of sustainability would look like. And by the end of college, I had kind of understood and decided that those scales were not, at least for me, in terms of being effective. I was much more interested in being on a small scale and working on the ground, building community, building up some kind of town, whether it was here or somewhere else. And within a handful of years, it became clear that this was going to be the place that I stayed. And so that was my original inclination towards farming. But once I started working on farms, including the piggery farm, it reminded me of how much I actually love animals specifically, and love working with animals and having animals. And when I was young and in high school, I volunteered for 4 years at this primate sanctuary and was working with chimps and orangutans and gorillas and stuff.
Wow.
And so it kind of just like sparked all these like memories of how that was an exciting lifestyle to me. And so then being on the ground, literally in the farm, became my pursuit. And it started in 2012 or 11, and it's kind of just continued to grow from there. But definitely did not grow up with this. Had to learn almost everything by doing it the wrong way and breaking things and mismanaging, and now we're finally getting to a point where I think things are smoothing out a little bit.
Look, that's awesome. Hopes for the future.
Hopes for the future. To take the baseline of a business that I've created, which is unfortunately a very capitalist, profit motivated version of business. Albeit I do volunteer and donate food and bring people out to the farm to encourage like interaction and learning and all that stuff. But I would like to be, part of a network of people that are farmers and growers and distributors, and a bigger network of people that are transforming really the normal food system, the traditional kind of ways we're doing things, and making some dramatic changes for the next 10, 20, 30 years of how we're getting food out to people. So I haven't quite figured out what that model is going to be or that network's going to look like, and I think we're all figuring it out, but I'm excited hopefully to be part of some formative years of some networks that will change things.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What do you love about farming?
Being outside every day and animals, and even though it's a responsibility and it's stressful at times, the fact that this is my job and I get to wake up and I have to go out and feed horses and have to go out and feed pigs and watch babies get born, and it feels like a blessing in disguise. So a lot of people would look at it as stressful and gross work, but to me it's like a whole lifestyle that allows you this freedom that's just blissful.
That's awesome. Impact. Can you tell me a little bit about when you're talking about small scale farming? A lot of people think you can only have impact on communities or, even national, international level if you're a huge operation. Can you talk to me about your impact and what you think that might be?
Well, I've been mulling this over. We've been listening to some Chris Newman podcasts recently, and he talks a lot about this and scale, and he's a very big advocate for the network, the bigger scale, and that in his mind, the idea of all these family farms trying to change the world is not feasible, and I can understand that perspective. However, there's certainly a place and a need for modeling of healthy lifestyles and healthy careers, and so part of the bigger impact that I would like to have is to be out here modeling like what a possible cohesive and collective lifestyle would be. So I'm trying not to just be farming by myself, but I brought a good friend in from the area who's moved next door, and she's bought a place and is farming out here with us. And next year there's another woman who's going to build a tiny house and move out here and raise her goats and sheep. And so my goal would be to model a collective version of small scale farming that could lend itself towards impact in the future. But it's going to take a lot of people putting their mind towards that to make a difference.
Yeah. But that community minded, that cooperative system, if replicated, could be meaningful.
Totally.
What were the barriers that you experienced to starting your farm? I know you had some meandering way of getting here, but
I guess I could talk about market barriers and the industrial food system and the lack of slaughterhouses and butchering options and lack of good models for young farmers to truly look towards, and that would all be true, and those are all systemic barriers that are there. But I do feel I really, and a lot of people in this community and elsewhere across the country that are able to succeed in this or to survive, let's say, are the people that come in with tons of privilege. And so my father was able to make money in the healthcare industry and left money behind to a degree that has helped me put the down payment on the property and helped me buy a car here and there over the years, and helped me like pay $10,000 off on the end of a loan that I needed to pay. And so there's serious privilege that comes into the current back to the land movement, and young farming generation is often just white privileged folks that are able to succeed. And so I can't truly speak to the deep barriers that individuals can face when coming from a different economic place or class, or also the racial barriers are just so deep. Thankfully, I mean, in one way, thankfully, I mean, I'm don't experience those things on a daily basis because I pass as white. But if you didn't, it would be a much different experience out here to start farming. And there are certainly lots of farmers that would treat you equally and give you a chance in the world, but there's also lots of farmers and people in this community that would write you off and not give you a chance. So can't speak to all the barriers that people would experience.
Thank you for sharing that, though.
Yeah, it's always been a difficult line for me to draw between my African American heritage and my family and my whiteness. And my father was African American. He was mixed, and both of my grandparents were mixed. But everybody, my dad included, was phenotypically looked black. And so he grew up with deep racism in Vermont and was one of only a handful of families in Vermont that was in Rutland, Vermont, that was black. And told me stories about my grandfather being pulled out of cars and beaten on the side of the road. And my dad grew up with such extreme poverty that he joined the military at 17 and basically never looked back. And he wanted to be successful and not experience that poverty again. And that also led him culturally to, I think, change some of his original identity. And he adapted to become what the white capitalist system would want you to become if you're going to be successful. So while I was exposed all the time to my aunts and uncles and my grandmother, who were all black culturally, my dad and my white mother raised me essentially as a white kid. And so I'm a little remiss. My dad passed away when I was 23, and we never really got to talk through the history and his perspective on things. And I think a lot of I don't even know where my grandparents came from, or what the genetically, or any kind of background on my parents or my grandparents or my great grandparents. And that's partially because that's the experience of African Americans, is their histories are erased, and things are shoved under the rug and ignored because it's too painful to look at. And so I feel it's been a difficult line. As I get older, I can feel a part of Black community, but I still fully recognize how I did not experience the same thing. So believe me.
Thank you so much, Devon.
No
I
problem.
really appreciate it.